Hey Switch fans, welcome back to SwitchTop. Today, we're counting down the top 20 best RPG experiences on Nintendo Switch. These are games that'll keep you hooked for dozens or even hundreds of hours, with deep gameplay systems, compelling stories, and worlds you won't want to leave. Whether you're new to RPGs or a veteran looking for your next adventure, this list has something for everyone. Let's get started. Final Fantasy X, 10-2 HD Remaster. Final Fantasy X follows Tidus, a star athlete who gets transported 1,000 years into the future to a world terrorized by an entity called Sin. You'll join summoner Yuna on her pilgrimage to defeat Sin, traveling across the beautiful world of Spira while uncovering the dark truth behind this cycle of destruction. The combat uses the conditional turn-based system, where you can see the turn order and swap party members mid-battle, letting you strategize against different enemy types. The sphere grid progression system is fantastic. Instead of traditional leveling, you move characters across a massive grid to unlock stats and abilities, and you can actually guide characters down other paths to create hybrid builds. 10-2 is the sequel that takes a completely different tone, focusing on Yuna's journey to find Tidus with a job-switching system that lets you change classes mid-combat. Both games look sharp on Switch, and the portability makes grinding those optional super bosses way more tolerable during commutes. Dragon's Dogma throws you into a dark fantasy world where a dragon rips out your heart, making you an Arisen, destined to hunt it down. The story gets wild with themes about fate and sacrifice, but the real draw here is the combat system that feels like no other RPG. You create your main character, and a pawn, an AI companion you design and train, then recruit 2 more pawns from other players online. The class system lets you be everything from a nimble strider who climbs monsters Shadow of the Colossus style, to a mystic knight casting enchantments on their shield, or a magic archer firing homing magic arrows. Combat is incredibly satisfying because you're grabbing onto griffins mid-flight, setting oil-soaked enemies on fire, or watching your mage pawn learn enemy patterns and call out weaknesses. The Dark Arisen expansion adds a brutally difficult post-game dungeon that will test everything you've learned. Fair warning though, the fast travel system is limited, and you'll be doing a lot of nighttime hiking, where the deadliest enemies come out. But that's part of the adventure's atmosphere. Kingdom Come Deliverance is probably the most unique RPG on this list, because it's set in actual 15th century Bohemia with 0 fantasy elements. You play as Henry, a blacksmith's son whose village gets destroyed, and you join a resistance to fight back against invading forces. This game doesn't hold your hand. You start as basically nobody who can't read, can't fight properly, and gets wrecked by common bandits. The combat system uses directional attacks and blocks that require real timing and practice to master, and you'll genuinely feel yourself improving as Henry trains. The quest design is phenomenal, with multiple solutions to problems. You can disguise yourself as a guard, poison someone's food, talk your way through, or just fight. You actually need to maintain your gear, eat regularly, and even bathe, because guards will comment if you show up covered in blood. The story tackles heavy themes about war and revenge, while showing you what medieval life was really like. Performance on Switch isn't perfect, with some frame drops in busy areas. But being able to play this incredibly detailed historical RPG portably is worth the trade-off. Bravely Default 2 brings classic Final Fantasy vibes, with 4 Heroes of Light trying to recover stolen crystals. But don't let the traditional setup fool you. The story goes to some dark places about the cost of heroism. The combat system is where this game shines, with the Brave and Default mechanics that completely change turn-based strategy. You can default to defend and bank turns, then Brave to take multiple actions at once, letting you go all out with 4 attacks in 1 turn, but leaving you vulnerable after. The job system is incredibly deep, with 25 plus classes to mix and match. You can be a vanguard/thief who counters, then steals, or a white mage/shield master who's an unkillable tank healer. Experimenting with job combinations to find broken synergies is half the fun. The game also lets you adjust encounter rates and even turn off random battles entirely if you just want to progress the story. Boss fights are genuinely challenging and force you to adapt strategies rather than just grinding levels. The art style is gorgeous, with painted backgrounds, and while the chibi character models aren't for everyone, the actual gameplay makes this one of the best pure turn-based JRPGs on Switch. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door follows Mario searching for the crystal stars and Princess Peach while uncovering the mystery of an ancient treasure beneath Rogueport, a town full of thieves and shady characters. The writing is legitimately hilarious, with clever dialogue, running gags, and characters that break the fourth wall in creative ways. The battle system uses action commands where you time button presses to deal extra damage or reduce incoming hits, keeping you engaged even during basic encounters. You'll recruit partners like Koops the Cowardly Koopa or Vivian the Shadow Witch, each with field abilities that solve environmental puzzles and unique combat skills. The badges system lets you customize Mario's abilities. Do you focus on pure damage, defensive tanking, or resource management for longer fights? The chapter-based structure keeps things fresh, with each area having totally different themes, from wrestling in the Glitz Pit to riding a train solving a murder mystery. The GameCube original is beloved for good reason, and this Switch remake keeps everything that made it special while adding quality of life improvements and gorgeous updated visuals that honor the original's papercraft aesthetic. Xenoblade Chronicles II takes place on the backs of massive creatures called Titans, in a dying world where nations fight over the remaining habitable space. You're Rex, a salvager who bonds with Pyra, a legendary blade who needs to reach a paradise called Elysium before the world ends. The story starts simple, but builds into something epic about creation, purpose, and sacrifice that'll hit you emotionally by the end. Combat is real-time but strategic. You auto-attack while positioning around enemies, building up arts, which are special abilities, then using them in sequence to pull off massive chain attacks. The blade system is the core mechanic, where you summon weapon partners with unique elements and abilities, and you can collect hundreds of them through a gacha system. Finding synergies between drivers and blades, building elemental combos, and timing driver combos to launch then smash enemies makes battles incredibly satisfying. The game has some weird anime tropes that might not be for everyone, but the British voice acting is excellent, and the world design is breathtaking. These Titans are massive, explorable regions with their own ecosystems and secrets.
Why not? Yeah! Gah! Ha! See, Grumps? I'm getting better. An entire horizon.
Skyrim needs no introduction, but having this massive open world on a portable device still feels incredible years later. You're the Dragonborn, the only one who can permanently kill dragons by absorbing their souls. And you need to stop Alduin the World Eater from destroying everything. But honestly, the main quest is just an excuse to explore one of gaming's most detailed fantasy worlds. You can join the Companions' Warrior Guild, become an assassin for the Dark Brotherhood, master magic at the College of Winterhold, or just ignore all that and become a stealth archer like everyone does. The perk system lets you specialize in whatever playstyle you want, and you can completely change builds mid-game if you get bored. Every dungeon has handcrafted design with its own little environmental story, and the Radiant Quest system generates endless side content. The Switch version includes all DLC Dawnguard's vampire storyline, Dragonborn's trip to Solstheim, and Hearthfire's home building. Motion controls for sword fighting and bow aiming work better than you'd expect, and while the visuals and bugs show their age, the gameplay loop of exploring, looting, and leveling up remains addictive as ever. Dark Souls Remastered brings one of gaming's most influential action RPGs to Switch, with the complete, brutal experience intact. You're an undead, cursed to never truly die, tasked with ringing 2 bells and uncovering why the world is falling apart, and the fire fading. The interconnected world design is masterful. Everything loops back on itself, with shortcuts that make you go, "Oh, that's where this leads," constantly. Combat is deliberate and punishing, where every attack commits you to an animation. Stamina management is crucial, and enemies can destroy you in seconds if you get careless. The lack of hand-holding forces you to piece together the story from item descriptions and environmental clues, creating this dark fantasy mystery that rewards paying attention. Each boss requires learning attack patterns and finding the right strategy. Some fights click immediately, while others will humble you for hours until something finally clicks. The class system only determines your starting stats and gear. You can build any character however you want, by leveling specific attributes and finding weapons that suit your playstyle. Running at 30 frames per second in both docked and portable mode, with improved lighting over the original. Chained Echoes is a love letter to 16-bit JRPGs that manages to feel fresh despite its retro inspiration. The story follows a group of mercenaries and soldiers caught between 3 warring kingdoms who discover an ancient threat that could destroy everyone. What immediately grabbed me is the combat system that eliminates random encounters. You see enemies and can avoid them or get the jump for an advantage. Battles use an overdrive meter that rewards varied strategies. If you stay in the green zone, you deal bonus damage, but using the same moves repeatedly pushes you into yellow, then red zones, where enemies get stronger. You're constantly switching between characters and abilities to maintain that sweet spot. The game has no grinding because there's no experience points. You get stronger through story progression and finding materials to upgrade equipment and skills. Characters can transform into mechs mid-battle, which completely changes their movesets and opens new tactical options. The pixel art is absolutely gorgeous, with expressive character animations and beautiful environments. Trails in the Sky First Chapter is the start of one of gaming's most ambitious connected RPG series, and it's the perfect entry point into the Trails universe. You follow Estelle and Joshua, 2 young bracers, basically adventurers for hire, traveling their country to become full-fledged members while searching for their missing father. The story starts as a coming-of-age road trip, but slowly builds political intrigue and mystery that explodes by the finale, setting up one of the greatest cliffhangers in RPG history. The turn-based combat uses a grid system, where positioning matters. You need to manage ranges for physical attacks versus magic, and the turn order system lets you see upcoming turns, so you can plan around enemy moves or delay actions for better positioning. The orbment system for magic is brilliant. You slot elemental quartz into your device to unlock spells, and different combinations give you access to different abilities, making party customization really deep. What makes Trails special is the world building. Every NPC has a name, their own life, and their dialogue changes after every story event. You can talk to a random shopkeeper, do a side quest, then 20 hours later, that same NPC references what you did, making the world feel genuinely alive.
Joshua! Yes! I'll be your opponent. Let us begin.
Pokémon Legends Arceus finally gave us the shakeup the series desperately needed by taking us back to ancient Sinnoh, now called Hisui, where Pokémon are feared and the idea of training them is revolutionary. You're building the region's first Pokédex by actually studying Pokémon behavior in the wild, and the gameplay loop is completely different from traditional entries. Instead of random encounters, you see Pokémon roaming in real time and can catch them directly by sneaking and throwing Pokéballs, or you can start battles for a better capture rate. The combat got overhauled with a turn order system based on speed stats and move styles. You can use strong style for more damage but slower turns, or agile style for less damage but going first. Boss fights against frenzied noble Pokémon mix action dodging with traditional battles in a way that feels fresh. The crafting system has you gathering materials to make your own Pokeballs and potions, which sounds tedious, but actually makes exploration rewarding. While the graphics aren't pushing the Switch hardware, the gameplay innovation more than makes up for it, and completing research tasks for each Pokémon adds depth beyond just catching them all. Dave the Diver surprised everyone by being way more than just a fishing game. It's this addictive loop of diving during the day, running a sushi restaurant at night, and uncovering mysteries in the blue hole. The diving gameplay has you exploring increasingly deeper waters, harpooning fish for your restaurant while managing oxygen levels and avoiding dangerous sea creatures. Combat is simple twin-stick shooting when you encounter sharks or other threats, and you'll unlock better gear as you progress deeper. At night, you're managing your sushi restaurant by hiring staff, upgrading equipment, and serving customers in a cooking minigame that gets hectic during rush hour. The money you make funds better diving equipment, creating this satisfying progression loop. But the story goes places you wouldn't expect, with an ancient civilization, sea people, and environmental themes that add real substance. Side activities include fish farming, growing wasabi, iPhone photography missions, and even a whole card game. The pixel art style is charming and runs perfectly on Switch. What keeps you playing is how every dive brings new fish to catch, new recipes to unlock, and new story beats that make you want to see what's next. The Witcher 3 puts you in the boots of Geralt, a monster hunter searching for his adopted daughter Ciri while she's being chased by an otherworldly force called the Wild Hunt. The main story deals with heavy themes of family, destiny, and the consequences of your choices, and the game doesn't shy away from morally gray situations where there's no clear right answer. Combat mixes fast sword attacks with magic signs like Igni for fire blasts or Quen for shields, plus dodging and parrying that requires actual timing. You'll take contracts to hunt monsters, which involve investigating with your Witcher senses, preparing the right oils and potions for that specific creature, then executing the hunt. The side quests are phenomenal. Even random notice board contracts have full storylines with twists and memorable characters. Character progression uses skill trees for combat, signs, and alchemy that let you specialize your playstyle. The 2 expansions included on Switch add another 50+ hours with some of the best content in the game. I won't lie, the Switch version has visual downgrades and frame rate issues, especially in Noviland. But having this massive 100+ hour RPG portable is still impressive, and the gameplay depth remains intact.
So, a griffin this close to the village? Strange.
My thoughts exactly. In the forest or the mountains, sure, but here? Near the main road.
Maybe it's the war. Corpses everywhere, the stench of blood, burnt flesh, drives monsters.
Tunic looks like a cute Zelda-like with its adorable fox protagonist, but this game is brilliantly cryptic in ways that'll make you feel like a kid in the 90s trying to figure out a game without any help. You wake up on a beach with zero explanation and have to piece together what's happening through exploration and discovery. The combat is stamina-based, like Dark Souls, with dodge rolling, blocking, and learning enemy patterns, and despite the cute appearance, enemies will absolutely destroy you if you're careless. What makes Tunic special is the instruction manual system. You find pages of an in-game manual scattered throughout the world, and it's written in a fictional language you'll gradually decode. These pages contain hints, maps, and secrets, including solutions to puzzles you passed hours ago, making you constantly backtrack with new knowledge. There's a deeper mystery involving golden pathways and hidden secrets that goes way beyond just beating bosses. The world is interconnected, with shortcuts opening up as you gain new abilities, and exploration feels rewarding because every corner might hide a manual page or secret. Accessibility options let you adjust difficulty if you want the mystery without the combat challenge. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake brings the games that started the whole JRPG genre into the modern era with gorgeous pixel art combined with 3D environments and lighting effects. The first game is simple. You're the descendant of the legendary hero Erdrick, tasked with defeating the Dragon Lord, who's terrorizing the kingdom. It's a solo adventure that's short by modern standards, but shows you where the genre began, with turn-based combat, leveling up, and exploration. Dragon Quest II expands everything by adding party members, a much larger world to explore, and more complex dungeons with puzzles. The remake adds quality-of-life features like quest markers, faster combat, and adjustable encounter rates, while keeping the core gameplay intact. What's cool is seeing how much these games influenced everything that came after. The spell names, the Akira Toriyama art style, the save system using churches. The HD 2D visual style makes these classic games feel fresh, with dynamic lighting, weather effects, and beautiful pixel animations. Combat is straightforward turn-based, without a lot of complexity, which might feel basic compared to modern RPGs, but there's something pure about the simplicity. Octopath Traveler II follows 8 different protagonists across the continent of Cilicia, each with their own storyline and motivations. From Oswald, the imprisoned scholar seeking revenge, to Particio, the merchant trying to end poverty. You pick one character to start with, then recruit the others as you explore. And while their stories are separate, they're all well written, with dark themes and satisfying conclusions. The combat system is absolutely fantastic, using a turn-based boost and break system where you exploit enemy weaknesses to break their defense, then unleash boosted attacks for massive damage. Each character has unique path actions they can use in towns. Oswald can mug people for items, Throne can knock out NPCs, Temenos can get information through his authority as a cleric. Latent powers are character-specific ultimate abilities that charge during battle and can turn fights around. The job system lets you give characters secondary jobs, mixing abilities to create powerful combinations. Boss fights are genuinely challenging and require strategy beyond just grinding levels.
It's my turn. Here I come.
Fire Emblem Three Houses puts you in the role of a mercenary who becomes a professor at the Officers Academy, where you'll choose to lead one of 3 houses, the Black Eagles, Blue Lions, or Golden Deer. Each house has completely different students and storylines that eventually lead to war between the 3 nations. And your choice determines which side you fight for and which former students you'll face in battle. The game splits time between tactical, grid-based battles and a social simulation at the monastery, where you teach your students, build relationships, and explore. In combat, the weapon triangle is gone, replaced by a battalion system, where units command troops that provide stat boosts and devastating gambits. Positioning matters because terrain affects movement and damage, and permadeath is still optional if you want that tension. The monastery phase has you instructing students in specific weapon types and skills, recruiting students from other houses if your stats are high enough, sharing meals to build support ranks, and doing quests. The support conversations are excellent, and seeing your students grow from nervous teenagers to battle-hardened warriors hits emotionally.
My efforts are paying off.
Monster Hunter Rise takes the series loop of hunting giant monsters, carving them for materials, and crafting better gear to hunt stronger monsters, then makes it more accessible without dumbing it down. You're a hunter in Kimura Village defending against the Rampage, where hordes of monsters attack, while also investigating why this is happening. The story is lighter than previous entries, but honestly, you're here for the hunts. Rise adds wire bugs that let you zip around environments and pull off special silkbind attacks unique to each weapon type, making combat way more mobile and dynamic. The 14 weapon types all play completely differently. Sword and Shield is fast and versatile. Greatsword is slow but hits like a truck. Hunting Horn now plays like a rhythm game while buffing your team. Palamutes are dog companions you can ride for faster traversal, and they fight alongside your Palico cat. Wyvern riding lets you temporarily control monsters to attack other monsters, creating chaotic three-way battles. Hunts are perfectly designed to be 15 to 20 minutes, making it ideal for portable play. The endgame is all about farming materials to craft and upgrade armor sets with specific skills, then tackling harder versions of monsters. Dragon Quest XI's follows a young man who discovers he's the reincarnation of an ancient hero called the Luminary, destined to save the world from darkness. But when you reveal this to the king, you're branded a demon and forced to flee, starting a journey to gather allies and uncover why the hero is being hunted. The story is classic good versus evil, but told with so much heart, charm, and emotional moments that it never feels generic. Combat is turn-based, with a party of memorable characters like Eric the Thief and Sylvando the Entertainer. And you can switch between free-roaming battles or classic Dragon Quest mode, where you don't move. The Pep Power system has characters enter a hyped state during battle, letting them combine for devastating team attacks. Character building uses a skill tree where you unlock new abilities and stat boosts, and you can reset points anytime to experiment. Exploration rewards curiosity with mini-medals, recipe books for crafting, and side quests that flesh out the world. The Switch version adds quality-of-life features like faster battles, a 16-bit mode that renders everything in 2D, and full Japanese voice acting alongside English.
Fight and fight some more! Phew.
Persona 5 Royal is the definitive version of one of gaming's most stylish RPGs, and having it portable on Switch feels like a miracle. You play as a high school student falsely accused of assault, who gets probation and transfers to Tokyo, where you discover the ability to enter the metaverse, a cognitive world where people's twisted desires manifest as palaces. You and your friends become the Phantom Thieves, stealing the hearts of corrupt adults to make them confess their crimes. The story tackles heavy themes like abuse of power, societal pressure, and finding your place in an unjust world, with characters that feel real despite the supernatural premise. Combat is turn-based, with a focus on exploiting enemy weaknesses to knock them down, earning extra turns and setting up all-out attacks. You collect personas, manifestations of your psyche, and confuse them to create stronger ones with better skills, and the fusion system is incredibly deep. The social simulation is equally important. You build relationships with confidants that unlock gameplay benefits and flesh out their personal stories. And there you have it, the top 20 best RPGs on Nintendo Switch. From classic turn-based battles to brutal action combat, these games represent hundreds of hours of incredible adventures you can take anywhere. If this video helped you find your next RPG obsession, hit that like button and subscribe to SwitchTop for more Nintendo Switch content. Until next time!